Okay, so what is an outworld? Well, an outworld is an area where your ants can explore. They can find food and have a look around in that area. So normally it's an area that's set up to be like the outside environment for an ant, and the nest is attached to an outworld. They come in different sizes. Depending on the size of the species of ant that you've got or what you need, you can make them very small. You don't have to make them particularly big at all. But anyway, this video will hopefully show you how to make an outworld. So looking forward to it. Okay, so this is the current outworld I have for my new queen that I've got. The new queen is my Myrmecia nigrocincta. This outworld has only been relatively new for her. She lives in the test tube, and then I have a new founding nest from Oz Ants attached. So I'll just take off the lid and just show you the queen inside the test tube in which she came. Shout out to Cool Cole J on Instagram for sending me this queen. She's quite jumpy, quite aggressive as well. So just having a closer look at her, you can see her hair in the test tube. She does have some eggs in there. Okay, so now time to make the outworld for her. So this is a plastic container I got from Bunnings. It was only, I think, $5.50. It's a nice deep container, which is what I wanted for having the Myrmecia inside, as they do sting and bite and jump. So I want it to be far away as possible when I have to go in and clean out and feed her as well. This was a nice container. It's got clips on the side, so you don't have to introduce too much vibration when you're actually opening it up. They're quite soft, little clips there you can take out. So quite a nice little container, and for only $5.50, nice and cheap as well. So easy to pick up. They did have some other sizes too. So with the lid, I want to cut in some ventilation. Now the grill that I've used here is just some old netting off an actual fish tank net. It's quite good, I like it. It's nice and easy to work with and cut into size. So just make an area where you actually want this, so you know exactly where the ventilation nest will go. Then cut this area out. I just use scissors here just to make the first holes, and then I just used a hacksaw as well just to clean it up, the edges. So what you want to do is make sure that you've got plenty of room, so putting the netting back over just to make sure you've got plenty of overlap on it. Okay, we don't want the ant actually getting out or it falling inside a little bit if you haven't glued it down properly. So that's sort of what it looks like, a little bit rough, but does the job nicely. Okay, so now I've actually glued down the netting onto the top here, making sure it covers all the way around, all the edges. Now, this is just an Araldite that I've used for this, just a normal Araldite you can pick up from a hardware store. 2 parts, mix it together and spread that on, and then just pad down the netting so it's got good contact with it. Next up is just to put a bit of a barrier around. So I've just used this Fluon insect barrier from Ants Everything. Just bought that online from them, nice and cheap. And just a little bit of cotton wool, and all I'm going to do is just dab that on around the actual ventilation area, just so if she crawls up that high she won't get out or go near it. And then also on the inside of the container I'm also going to put another barrier. Now hopefully that one will stop her getting to the top, and then there's a secondary one before the netting as well. Okay, so now we can just see there the Fluon added around the ventilation port and then around the top of the container as well. So I have to do a little bit of tidy up, just a couple of little holes there, make sure I've got it all covered because she will find her way through it. They're a very good climbing ant. I've just put extra couple of holes in here too, so one to add the nest and one also for a test tube. Okay, so I've just added a sand that I bought for $5 from Bunnings as well. It's just a yellow Brickmaker's sand. All I've done with that is I've actually washed it so it's nice and clean, and then I've baked it in the oven as well, just to kill off any germs or anything that was in there. It's a nice fine-grained sand, gives sort of a desert effect, which I quite like in my outworlds. Makes it nice and easy to see the ants, easy to clean up as well, and I just like that contrast. So just put a thin layer on the bottom, not too much. You don't want to moisten it either. You don't want ants digging into it. Okay, so here we can see we've got the holes at the front. So one for a test tube that you can put some water in for feeding, and also a bit of humidity, and also for the formicarium that you're going to connect up. Add a little bit of contour to the sand as well, just make it a little bit interesting, just so it's not all just flat and boring. Add a bit of character to it, but the world is yours. Do whatever you'd like to do in there. Okay, the next thing is just to do a bit of decorating. So what I've done here is just added a few rocks and twigs, a little fake plastic plant there as well for her to climb on. Very basic, not too cluttered. You want easy access so you can clean out the outworld. See there the contours. When you are putting in the sand, just remember to tape off those holes that you've made in the side as well. And here we've got the lid to go on as well. So here we can see I've attached the test tube, as I said, just for that water and that bit of humidity as well into the area. Build up a little bit of sand around it as well so she can get in there nice and easily. And just make sure you have plenty of overlap to go on the inside. Make sure it's a nice and tight fitting as well. And then it's time to connect the formicarium. So this is an Oz Ants founding formicarium from the starter pack, the Waitong version. Connect it up here, and again make sure the tube just goes through to the other side. That way she can get in nice and easily and it's not going to fall out. So there we go, that's the outworld ready to start. We have a little bit of card we can cut out and put on the top. Okay, so let's have another look at the Queen here. She's very active right from the get-go. She was wanting to come out and investigate every time I came near the actual outworld that I'd put her in. And the reason I am moving her here, you can see again I've used some of the fish grill here for the ventilation, the fish netting from the tank. What she was doing was trying to get out of her outworld. She did not seem too happy in there, and it's a very shallow outworld as well. So every time I took off the top, it was a nervous few moments. But you can see here she's actually started to cut her way out, both of these ones. So she's tried her best. So I wanted to move her into a home that would be a little more suitable for her. She deserves a beautiful outworld. So let's see how she went. Okay, so I've put the test tube now inside the outworld, exposed it to the light there. So we'll see if she wants to come out and explore. Again, she's a little bit timid, but once she gets used to the idea, she's more than willing to come out and explore. The Myrmecia species have extremely good eyesight. So even when I move into the room, she's on it, she's looking. Here she goes, tentative few steps out into a new outworld. Fingers crossed that she loves it. Such a beautiful bull ant. Myrmecia nigrocincta. Decided to name her, named her Boadicea after the Celtic warrior queen because of her red colouring and also because of her aggressive nature. So I hope you like the name that I've decided to give her. Comment down below in the video if you think it's a good name for this queen. Well, she doesn't want to come out too far and explore, but I'm sure she'll get used to the idea. Well, eventually she did come out and explore, and here's her in the plant. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video here of the making of an outworld for an ant. You can see that she's moved into her Waitong nest, and I've removed the test tube now from inside the outworld. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up, I appreciate it, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll be putting up some new content. I've got a review of a new product to come up shortly. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and happy ant keeping.